welcome to Wednesday Night Live. Okay, I'm whispering because my partner in crime, my friend, my homie, my sister, Gladys, who's usually in these announcement videos, is sleeping. What's funny is that her goal this year was to wake up early, and it's almost 10 o'clock in the morning, and she's still asleep. What? How does that work? But anyways, I'm gonna start this video off, and then we're gonna go wake her up in a little bit. Maybe she'll be a little bit grumpy, who knows, but let's try it. But our first announcement is social media, you guys. We have Instagram and we have YouTube. On Instagram, we post Me Mondays, we post Wednesday reminders. We're gonna start posting a little bit more, so be on the lookout for that on our Instagram. Make sure you're following and your post notifications are turned on. Also, daily devos at Doze. We're gonna be posting those once a week from now on, so make sure that you're on the lookout for those two. YouTube, a lot of you guys are watching on YouTube right now. Sorry, I'm still kind of whispering. It's like a little ASMR moment. But anyways, YouTube at Sunrise Students Today. Make sure you subscribe and click the little bell to get notified and like this video. Let's see if we can get this video to like 10 likes or even more. That's gonna be a challenge every week. We're just gonna get it to more likes. Who knows? It might work. So make sure that you guys are watching and make sure you're inviting friends to watch Wednesday Night Lives with you right here, right now. Yes. So make sure you're inviting your friends. All you have to do is copy, bloop, and share the link, bloop, in whatever messaging app you have, any type of way that you message your friends or tell them things, I don't know, DM them, I don't know. But copy the link, paste it, and send it to your friends and say, hey, will you watch Wednesday night with me? Did you see that? It like hit me in the face. But anyways, so I think that's all for me. Let's go wake up Gladys, you guys. I think Gladys awake. Gladys, want to tell them what our next announcement is? Small groups. What about small groups? I don't know. Join a small group, guys. Joining a small group is super cool, and we're relaunching these small groups again. They're starting back again in January, which is right now. So make sure if you want to join a small group, go to sunrisechurch.org/students. I think that's all the announcements we have. Did I forget anything? Small group, social media, Wednesday nights. She's still asleep. Everybody say, wake up, Gladys. Okay, bye guys.
Hey guys, Happy New Year. It's Pastor Josh. I'm so excited to be with you guys today to introduce our lesson for today. We're going to be starting a brand new series, which I'm really stoked about. I want to ask you a question. Do you have a New Year's resolution? Yes? No? If you do, can you tell me what that is in the chat right now? Just type it in the chat for me. Tell me what your New Year's resolution is. What are some of the goals that you are wanting to accomplish in this new year? If you don't have a New Year's resolution, it's okay. Make one up right now and just type it in there. Just, I want to, I don't know, pet my dog for today. What? Okay. So I have a funny relationship with New Year's resolutions, mainly because I like to set them, sort of plan for them and then not achieve them at all. Like I'm sort of known for not accomplishing a lot of my New Year's resolutions. And today we're going to talk a little bit about goals, how to set goals and how to achieve goals. Now you might be thinking, okay, I've done this before. I know how to achieve goals. I know how to set goals. You might be setting goals as big as raising your grades or learning a new skill or getting accepted into college or getting a job, or getting healthier, or maybe being TikTok famous. Maybe that's a goal that you have to set. And if I were to ask you about your goals, I'm guessing that some of you would be able to share your goals immediately. Some of you would probably be thinking about it for a little while, and some of you probably would say, well, I just don't really have any goals yet. And that's okay. I have a couple of questions that I would love for you to answer in the chat. And I'm going to ask the question, and I want you to respond, regardless of what platform you are on. I want you to respond to this question by giving me one of 3 emojis as your response. You ready? Okay. The first response is yes, which is a thumbs up. I want you to give me a thumbs up in the chat. Second response is no, which is the thumbs down response emoji. And then not sure, which is like this. Can you get that emoji and be like, I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to give me a thumbs up emoji, a thumbs down emoji, or a I'm not sure emoji. Ready? Here's your first question. Do you have any goals right now? Yes? No? Not sure. Do you have any goals for your future? Yes? No? Not sure. If you could change the world for the better, would you want to? Yes? No? You're not sure? Do you ever feel like you need help achieving your goals? Yes? No? Not sure? Do you need help setting goals in the first place? Yes? No? Not sure? And finally, the last question I want you to answer, would you be content with having no goals for your life? Would you be content? Yes? No? Not sure? At your age, it's normal to feel like you're struggling to set or achieve goals. When you're a teenager, when you're a young person, you're still figuring out who you are. You're still figuring out who you want to be. It's hard to think that far into the future. It's hard to get or stay disciplined to achieve your goals. You don't have total independence or total control of your life or the time. You do have some, but probably not complete control over it. But even though setting and achieving goals can be difficult at your age, I am convinced that you can change the world. Not someday, not 2 months from now, not a year from now, not when you graduate from high school. You can change the world today. And it starts with the goals that you set. No matter how long it could take you to achieve those goals, I believe that you can change your world, your community, your relationships, the influence that you have. You can make major world-changing a world-changing difference today based off some of the goals that you set today. So we're going to continue this, but I'm going to send it over to Pastor Eric, who's going to help us to unpack this a little bit more. Pastor Eric, sending it over to you, man.
Thanks, Josh. So good to see you, bro. Now, over the next few weeks, we're going to address questions like, what goals should I have in my life? And what do my goals have to do with God's goals? And how can I achieve the goals that I have? To do that, I want to introduce you to someone from the Bible that we're going to take a look at. A guy who had really big goals of his own, and we're going to see what we can learn from what this guy had. Now, before I get into that passage in the Bible, I want to give you a little background. We're going to be looking at a book from the Old Testament of the Bible, and that's the part of the Bible that was written before Jesus walked the earth, right? It's the story of the Jewish people. And the book we're going to read today is called Nehemiah, and it's written by a guy named, that's right, you guessed it, Nehemiah. About 140 years before this book begins, the Jewish people are conquered by an enemy army that took control of Jerusalem, and they destroyed the city. They burned the temple where the Jewish people would worship God, and they sent many of God's people into exile. Like they got rid of them. And through the prophets of God, God promised to restore and to rebuild Jerusalem, and that God's people would return one day. But this was, in this moment, was a devastating loss for the Jewish people. So here, imagine, if you would, for just a moment, what it would be like if an army from another country came and invaded right where you live and kicked you out of your home and your city, even your country. Imagine they came into Fontana or Rialto or Victorville or Ontario, Beaumont, Banning, San Bernardino, Highland, Upland, wherever it is you live, they came in and they kicked you out of your home and they sent you to another country. You'd likely lose friends and family members in that process, right? And if you survived, you'd be forced to learn a new language and have to live under new law and customs. See, for generations, the Jewish people were heartbroken because they lost their city, they lost their temple and their culture and their community. And after Jerusalem was destroyed, there was a new king that took control. And actually, some of God's people began to return to Jerusalem, and they were looking for ways to rebuild what they've lost, but it was a long process. So about 140 years after Jerusalem was destroyed, that's where we pick up this story, the story that Nehemiah has. That's where it begins. You see, Nehemiah had never, in his life, he had never known Jerusalem outside of being occupied by this enemy. Nehemiah was passionate about seeing Jerusalem restored. He was passionate about that, not just for anyone, but he was serving in this time. He was serving in the government, and not just the government it's like in general, but he was serving the king of Persia. All right, so we're going to take a look at Nehemiah chapter 1. It's Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job. So it's pretty about the first third way through your Bible, maybe a fourth, I don't know. And in here, Nehemiah in chapter 1, you read about his brother Hanani comes to him and he tells him that there's all these people who have been returning back to Jerusalem. But it turns out, and he didn't know about this because the people hadn't been there, but he's getting this news back now that the temple has been destroyed, the walls have been torn down, and Nehemiah is devastated, and he begins to pray, and he fasts, and he weeps, and he cries out to God, and he's praying to God, asking him to do something incredible. And he knows that he's been chosen by God, and so he asks God to give him favor in the eyes of the king. And Nehemiah was the cupbearer for the king, so he would bring in the wine to the king. So he would have this face-to-face time with the actual king. And it says in the 20th year of Artaxerxes' reign, I was serving the king wine. And the king notices he doesn't look like he normally does. He notices that he looks sad. He's like, what's going on? So Nehemiah tells the king that his city where his ancestors grew up has been destroyed. It's in ruins, and everything has been torn down, and the gates have been destroyed, and it's been ruined by fire and all this stuff. And the king's like, so how can I help? And Nehemiah takes this as God's answer. And it says in chapter 2, verse 5, he says, I replied, if it please the king, and if you are pleased with me, your servant, send me to Judah to rebuild the city where my ancestors are buried. So Nehemiah already knew that Jerusalem had been destroyed. That was old news, but when Hananiah came to him, telling him all about the Jewish people returning, he's now hearing how terrible it is. The walls have been torn down, and Nehemiah sees this problem, and it's a practical problem. Without walls, a city is defenseless. It's vulnerable to another attack. And there's also the spiritual problem. The city of Jerusalem was deeply connected to the Jewish people's relationship with God, and rebuilding the walls would be a way to honor God. But leaving them, he realizes, in the shamble was essentially sinning against God. So Nehemiah wanted to see the whole nation of Israel restored and turned back to God. So he set out this God-sized goal to find a way to build the walls of Jerusalem so God's people would be protected and that God would be honored. So Nehemiah has a God-sized goal, right? Jerusalem's troubles kind of set inside of Nehemiah this goal that wouldn't just benefit him, but would serve his people and God too. So Nehemiah had this God-sized goal, and his goal began with difficulty, right? Nehemiah didn't set this goal because he needed to be cool at the New Year's resolutions party. He set it because he saw a problem that needed to be solved, and he believed that he could help solve it. And when Nehemiah identified that problem, he grieved, he wept, he cried, he broke down. And solving the problem wasn't just some fun hobby like, hey, we're gonna go work out at the gym and get buff this year, and then 2 days later you don't keep going on with it. But his goal also began with prayer. As Nehemiah wept, as he cried out, he also fasted and he prayed, and he knew that his goal was so big that he couldn't do it by himself. And before he made a single move, he asked God for wisdom, for guidance, and help with keeping. And then he kept praying for months, the Bible says. So his goal began with prayer, and his goal began with God's help. See, Nehemiah stood up from his prayer and from his fasting, and he determined to attempt a series of impossible tasks, things that really couldn't be done by one person. He knew his own wisdom and his own experiences weren't enough to guarantee success, so he asked God for help. The size of this goal forced Nehemiah to put all of his faith into a God who could only do what Nehemiah knew he couldn't do on his own. So the book of Nehemiah begins with destruction and loss and grief and tears, but that's not where this story is going to end. When Nehemiah heard the news about Jerusalem's crumbling walls, he discovered an important truth. Big difficulties can inspire God-sized goals. Let me say that again. Big difficulties can inspire God-sized goals. So what do we do with a story? We're going to come back to Eric Wade in just a minute. But before we get there, you know what time it is. If you've been around, put it in the chat in all caps. You know what time it is. It's game time! All right, it is game time, and it is 2021. This is our first Wednesday in 2021, but we're going to look back at 2020. So let's take a peek. Obviously, there's plenty that we want to forget, right, from 2020. But let's see how well you remember these things that happened in 2020. All right, first question. Which country legend known for Islands in the Stream and The Gambler died in March 2020? Is it A, Merle Haggard? Is it Kenny Rogers, Willie Nelson, or Hank Williams? And I want you to put the name in the chat. Who do you think who was it that died in March 2020? Merle Haggard, Kenny Rogers, Willie Nelson, or Hank Williams? The answer, my friend, is it is Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers. All right, let's go to the next question. Easy question. Which basketball star did we lose to a helicopter crash this year? Was it Michael Oho, Curly Neal, Clifford Robinson, or Kobe Bryant? Looks like I spelled it Michael. Michael Oho, Curly Neal, Clifford Robertson, or Kobe Bryant? Put in the chat if you said Kobe Bryant. You got it right. That was a very, very sad day. All right, another question. On which social media platform did Prince Harry and Meghan Markle announce they were stepping down as senior royals? Was it on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, or TikTok? Drop that into the chat. Don't do A, B, C, or D. Put Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, or TikTok. Which one did they announce it on? The answer, my friends, is Instagram. All right. If you put Instagram, you got it right. Keep track of how many you get right. Or you get 1,000 points for each one you get right. All right. Who performed at the Super Bowl halftime show? It feels like 100 years ago since Super Bowl. Was it Jennifer Lopez and Shakira? Was it Maroon 5 and Travis Scott? Was it Coldplay and Beyonce? Or Justin Timberlake and the Tennessee Kids? What do you think the answer was? Put it in the chat. J-Lo, Maroon 5, Coldplay, JT. The answer, my friends, is J-Lo and Shakira. All right. Next question. Which film won Best Picture at the Oscars? I rarely see the films that end up being Best Picture, or even the ones, I didn't see any of these that were nominated. These were all nominated. Which one was it? Was it Jojo Rabbit? Was it Joker? Was it Marriage Story? Or was it Parasite? I end up seeing Pixar movies, right? All the time. The answer, my friends, is Parasite. All right, next question. Which private company became the first to launch a rocket with people into space in 2020? Was it Sierra Nevada Corporation? Was it Boeing, Orbital, or SpaceX? Put that in the chat, what you think. The answer, my friends, is SpaceX. I don't know if you guys remember about 2 years ago, a little less than 2 years ago. It was like a year and a half ago in the fall. Remember, we saw this thing in the sky? Yeah, that was SpaceX. It wasn't this particular one, but it was SpaceX doing a launch. All right, next question. Which 2020 film starring Robert Downey Jr. tells the story of a physician who can talk to animals? Was it The One and Only Ivan, Dr. Dolittle, Zookeeper, or Homeward Bound 3? Happened in 2020. Which one of those was it? Put your answer in the chat. My friends, if you answered Dr. Dolittle, you got that one right. I hope you're keeping track. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions so far. All right, question number 8. Which actor plays Dr. Ivo Robotnik in the Sonic Hedgehog movie? Is it John Cena, Tom Holland, Jim Carrey, or Justin Timberlake? All having characters that they've played in that are movies recently, but the answer to this question, playing the evil guy, Dr. Robotnik, was Jim Carrey. That was this past year, 2020. Can you believe it? All right, question number 9. What country was devastated with a record 47 million acres burned in fires? Was it Austria, Fiji, Australia, or New Zealand? Notice we did not put the US in there because we certainly had our share of fires this year. But which country was it? If you said Australia, you got it right. All right, question 10. Are you keeping track how many points you get? 1,000 points for every single one you get right. What virus resulted in most of the world shutting down at some level? Was it the coronavirus? Was it the coronavirus? Was it the coronavirus? Or was it the coronavirus? Put your answer in the chat. Make sure you spell it right. It is one of those 4. My friends, hopefully you got this one correct. It was coronavirus. All right, well, thank you so much for playing along. We are going to get back to the message. I'm going to send it back to Mr. Pastor Senior Eric Wade.
Hey students, Happy New Year to you. So this evening we've been talking about Nehemiah, and maybe you guys are thinking to yourself, like, why are we talking about this guy who lived 2,500 years ago and what he did with walls and all that? What does that have to do with us today? Maybe you're thinking that as we're going through tonight's lesson. The fact is, there's so much to say about a biblical account of Nehemiah. Countless books have been written about it, and that story that it teaches us about wisdom, it teaches us about leadership, and having a vision for our lives and the lives of those around us, or those who we do community with. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be looking to see what we can learn about him through his book, and more specifically what we could learn about achieving goals and setting goals, but not just any goals that we have that comes to mind. More importantly, more specifically, about setting and achieving God-sized goals in our lives. The goals that we set that only God can do in and through us, and that only he can get the credit for. So you guys remember that goal that you wrote down a few minutes ago? I want you guys to take a look at it again. After hearing the account of Nehemiah and after hearing and seeing what he did, I want you guys to take a look at the goals that you guys wrote down just a few minutes ago. And how does your goal compare to Nehemiah's goals? How does your goal compare to the goal that Nehemiah set? Is your goal inspired by a big difficulty in your life? Does it solve a problem? Does it solve a problem that impacts other people other than yourself? Or is it a goal mostly about what you can gain from it? How does your goal compare to that which Nehemiah did? Is your goal inspired by prayer? Is it a goal that you want for yourself, or is it a goal that God wants for you too? Have you ever talked to God about this goal that you just wrote down? Is it something that God told you to pursue, or is it something that you haven't even discussed with him, or is it something that you know that God wouldn't want you to do, but you want to do it anyway? Or do you need God's help to accomplish that goal that you wrote down a few moments ago? That's usually a good indication on whether or not your goal is big enough. If you're pretty sure that you could accomplish the goal on your own, then it's a you-sized goal. It's not a God-sized goal. It's a goal that you want and that you could attain. It's not a goal that maybe God wants for you, or that he can attain in and through himself, and that you need his help with. See, goals are meant to be, maybe seem impossible. That would get the credit for it and not you. It's not hard to set goals that benefit us, right? It's not hard to set goals that benefit us. Like, hey, I'm going to eat this whole pack of Oreos in one sitting. God has nothing to do with that. That's something that I could do on my own. That's not a hard goal to set. Most of us set goals that we could attain each and every year around this time of year, right? Each of us have these New Year's resolutions or these New Year's goals, but those kind of goals are like running on a treadmill. Because on a treadmill, some of us, we could run for hours and we can log hundreds and tons of miles and we could burn a lot of calories, but we really don't go anywhere when we run on a treadmill. Just like we don't really go anywhere when we set goals for ourselves that we could attain on our own. No matter how many moves we make, no matter what we do, no matter where we go, we're always going to stay where we started. Why? Because it's something that we set for ourselves and we can only see what's right in front of us. When we set us-sized goals, it's kind of like running on a treadmill. We don't really go anywhere, and we're the only one that benefits from it. Guys, I want to encourage you to look at the goals that you've set for yourselves a few moments ago and really focus in on see if it's a you-sized goal or is it a God-sized goal. Is it a goal that you could attain on your own without the help from the Lord, or is it a goal that you have to depend on the Lord in order to set it, but more importantly, in order to achieve it? And if it is a you-sized goal and you only know how to do that, what's the alternative? How can we learn from Nehemiah and set God-sized goals that can change not only yourself, but also the world around you, if not the entire world? Here's a few steps of how we could do that. One, we begin with difficulty. I don't mean that it needs to cause difficulty for yourself, and I don't mean that you want to wait until something of difficult things happen to you or somebody you love. There's difficulty happening us all around us, right? And we just have to open our eyes and notice that. But what I want you to think about is maybe you've experienced some difficulty in your life. Maybe you've experienced the loss of something or someone that you loved, or maybe you've experienced difficulty through bullying or discrimination, or difficulties with your family or even your health maybe. And because the chances are that someone has experienced that same difficulties you have experienced in your life. And so I want you to think, when it comes to this difficulty, how could it be a help to somebody that I'm going through something that I've also experienced? Maybe that's your God-sized goal that you start with. Hey, I was bullied for many years and I've grown past that, and I see that you're being bullied too. I'm going to come alongside and help you because God got me through this, and I believe that God's going to use me to help you get through this as well. Or maybe you haven't experienced very much difficulty in your life, but you could see somebody experience difficulties in and through you. There's plenty of problems in the world around you that we could just pick out and see, hey, what's going on? There's a lot of people hurting. There's a lot of people struggling, and there's a lot of people in pain. And maybe that's where your God-sized goal could begin, by focusing on the needs of others rather than just your wants and your desires and your needs. We will often find God-sized goals hidden within something that we're very passionate about. See, Nehemiah was passionate about rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem and rebuilding the cities. And just like Nehemiah, our passion can often be inspired by the difficulties that we see others experience or that we experience ourselves. Another way to have a God-sized goal like Nehemiah did is beginning with prayer. If you're not sure about what your God-sized goals could be, start by asking God to open your eyes to see people and the needs around you. If you feel like God might be leading you toward a need or a goal, share it with people and trust and see what they say, see what they think. Seek godly counsel about it. That's the biggest way that God speaks to me today, is through godly counsel. And when I'm God's impressing on my heart to do something or to act on something, I always seek out godly counsel first. And if they agree with it, then I move forward with it. If they don't, then I spend more time in prayer to truly make sure that it is God saying something to me. We can't have a God-sized goal without going to him in prayer so we know to hear his voice on whether he's in it or not. Have you chosen your goal? Is God in it? Have you prayed about it? Are you asking him, God, show me, is this of you? And are people around you confirming it in and through you? Have you dreamed big enough about all those things? And if you're not sure, that's okay, because for the next few weeks, we're going to be digging a little bit deeper into the scenario of what it means to have God-sized goals. And so this week, I want you guys to think about this question: what breaks my heart? Or maybe what should break my heart? And help me, and through the Lord's help, help me to act on those things. Does discrimination break my heart? Then I want to reach out to those who are discriminated against. Does poverty break my heart? Then I want to help out to those who live in poverty and help them. Does lying, does cheating, does stealing, do all those break my heart? Then I want to confront those who do those things, and I want to help them. But more importantly, I want to make sure that those aren't going on in my life as well. Whether those problems impact you or others or the whole world around you, I want you guys to remember one thing: big difficulties can inspire God-sized goals. And we can't, as a teaching team, we can't wait to see what kind of God-sized goals you guys begin to pursue. But it has to begin with prayer, and it has to be big enough to where you can't receive the credit. And so I want you to be inspired tonight, but I want you to spend the night in prayer, and I want you to spend this week in prayer saying, what breaks my heart and what can I do to make a difference in that, whether it's in my life or those around me, and pray to the Lord, say, God, help me with this. What do you want from me? How do you want me to learn on this? How do you want me to lean on this? How do you want me to impact others around me through this? And see what the Lord does. So I love you guys. We will see you again next week. But for now, I'm going to kick it back to Eric with the Cave for some final announcements. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Eric Wade. Although I didn't love what you had in the background, this background is much better when you think about goals. But anyhow, great stuff for us to be thinking about, right? What is it that God is doing in us? And we need to be asking God to help us with what our goals would be for 2021. Stop trying to do it on our own, right? What is it that God is putting in us and stirring in us? And just talk to him. Have that conversation with him. Okay, so we're going to do a giveaway here in just a minute, but I just have a couple of announcements. Now, many of you are on our YouTube channel right now, so you don't need it. And actually, that bit.ly, I need to fix that. That bit.ly link is irrelevant because you can just do youtube.com/sunrisestudentca now. But we're on YouTube, and that happens every Wednesday, obviously, for those of you who are on there. But there's also a bunch of you who are on our Instagram page right now, at Sunrise Student CA. Also, both of them are the same handle. Mondays, we got Meme Mondays, so there's funny stuff on there, some funny memes that we see dropped on Mondays. We're doing our weekly Devos on Tuesdays. You're going to see some stuff connected to our weekend services. So hopefully you're watching the weekend services or you're there live in the weekend services. I know many of you are there when we do our post-30s, which we're going to be doing in a few weeks. We'll announce that. We'll give you more information about the next post-30 next week, but that's the third Sunday of the month. But we're going to start doing our Devos on Tuesdays right here on Instagram that connects to the weekend service. So hopefully you're watching whether you're in person or you're online. And then we want to help you to take some tangible stuff that like really helps you to make it concrete. Like, here's what we can do with this. And then we got Silly Songs with Eric. We've got Snacks with Yuli. We got some game stuff. Some of you played our escape room, the mini escape room we did on there. Super fun. Plus, a lot of our content on Instagram is done by our creative team, which I absolutely love. Also, how many of you, just in the chat, put in the chat right now, who has a job? Who has a job that you get paid for? Put in the chat, say, I have a job. Or put in the chat, I get an allowance. One of the two. Put in I have a job or I get an allowance. Sorry, Dylan, you can't hear me, but I see some of the others of you can, so that's good. Who gets an allowance? See, Dimitri, I think is Dima, has a job. That's awesome. What job do you have? And David Bumpus has got a job bringing home the bacon. Minnie Marie's got a job. That's awesome. So here's what's really cool. No matter what your talent is, Maddie's currently unemployed because of Corona. Oh, Dima is dog walker. That's awesome. No matter what it is, whether you get an allowance or you have a job, your abilities have gotten you to where you're at, right? As far as getting that job or the things that you do or your place in life. But it's God who has given you all of that. Everything that we have is God's, and we get to basically be what's called stewards of what God has given to us. And what I mean by that is he tells us to take what we have, essentially, to being good stewards of it is doing the right things with it. So whether it's money or with our talents or our time, all of that stuff, we need to be good stewards. One of the way we steward that is by giving back to God, by giving through the church, right? So we have what's called tithing. The Bible talks about tithing and offering. The Bible talks about getting 10%. That's kind of the base of giving. So let's say you get $10 a week. 10% of that is $1. And I want to encourage you, if you haven't started already putting this into practice in your own life, to tithe, to give back to the church. And it's not about the church making money, because what you do is you give through the church, and the church is things like our peace centers, where do you know that 1,300, over 1,300 people have given their lives to Christ in 2020 because of the connections to church and the food pantries and all that, and that's all happening because of people who are giving through the church. I mean, that is amazing. I don't know if you heard that number. 1,300, 1,300, over 1,300 people are going to heaven as a result of what's happening at Sunrise Church and our peace centers and our pantries. When you tithe, it helps things like that. It helps the church do the things that we do. So I want to encourage you. You can drop it off on the weekends, or you can mail it there. It doesn't matter what campus you're at. It all goes, because we're all part of one church. Yes, Gustavo says online giving is super convenient. Most of you students probably don't have a debit card or a bank account, but if you do, you can set it up that way too. But that is just, I just want to encourage you to make that part of your practice. It's part of our worship opportunity. We get to worship God through song, through God's word, through service like this. We worship God actually when we honor our parents. We do our chores. We worship God through giving and all that. So, okay, enough of that. It is time to give away a prize to one of you. So we put all of your names into the magic box, and I'm going to start spinning that magic box. Hopefully you'll see your name in there, whether you're on Instagram or you're on YouTube. We put your name in all of it, and everybody who's commented or jumped in. I see Kobe in there, see Dylan, see Caleb, see Pepe, Dimitri, Madison, Captain Noob, all of you. Who wants to win something? Let me know who wants to win. Who wants to win? I'm going to stop it on 3, 2, 1, stop. Hey, Dimitri, Dima Garcia, congratulations, Dima. Happy 2021. You have won a prize, and you said I do to wanting to win. So way to go, dude. Very cool. Now, let's see. Let us take a look and see what you won. We're going to go to the wheel. Now, if you've been around, you know what we do here. Okay, so Dima is our big winner tonight. one of these things is going to be what he wins. So we've got Smart Light, we've got Plasma Ball, a Chick-a-Pig board game, a tube of gummies, desktop drum set, mini pool table, a Narwhal headphones, toxic waste sour candy, 5-pound bag of candy. So a whole bunch of fun stuff. So we're going to go ahead and spin the wheel. And what I need you guys to do in all capital letters now, yes, I am going to answer the question. Tony, we did say that we're going to do 2 winners in this first week of January. We've not forgotten that. So we're gonna do Dima's giveaway first. So on 3, I need you in all capital letters to shout, "Spin that wheel." All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, spin that wheel. Let's see what he won. Oh, toxic waste sour candy. I love gummies. I love sour stuff. So that is awesome. You've won yourself toxic waste sour candy. It's super weird, but yummy, and you're going to love it. Make sure we get that to you. All right, so now we're going to go back. Congratulations. Way to go, Dima. Now we're going to go back to all of our players again, and we are going to spin the wheel again and see who wins this next prize. All right, because in the last Wednesday of December we didn't give away a prize, so the 23rd I think it was. We said we'll give it a second one away. So we're gonna go ahead and get names going through here. Seeing all the names up there. If it happens, well, I'm just gonna let it go. We're gonna see who wins here. All right, 3, 2, 1, stop. Leela Burleson, congratulations, Leela, on round 2. That's right, Gustavo, she won round 2. Way to go. That is awesome. Now, Leela, let's see what you won. All right, let's see what you win tonight. All right, we're gonna spin this wheel, but again, I gotta tell you, you guys have to shout it out nice and loud in the chat. Spin that wheel on 3, okay? Andalina's so excited for her sister, Leela. I think, yeah. So, or you're both in there. That's right, you're both represented there. All right, we're gonna spin the wheel. All right, on 3, ready? 1, 2, 3, spin that wheel. What does she win tonight? The Chick-a-Pig board game. Now this one, I believe this won Board Game of the Year in 2019 maybe. So congratulations. That is awesome. You win the board game. We'll make sure we get that board game to you here in the next week or so. We haven't been into church this week because we've closed things down this week, but we'll make sure we get that to you here as quickly as possible. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us. We love that you choose to come out and be part of what's going on here on Wednesday nights. We're going to be back again next week. In the upcoming in this year, we've got some great things for you on the horizon. Maybe you saw the parents newsletter. Again, I'm going to talk about more of this in the future. But the first Sunday in February, we are going to do a I just blanked on it. Oh, an Among Us tournament. We're going to do an Among Us tournament in that first Sunday of February, I believe it is. We'll give you more information about that next week. But this year we're going to be doing some things for when you invite friends, for both you and your friends that come for the first time. We're going to have things like the Impossible Shot. Maybe if you're at the Rialto campus, you know about the Impossible Shot that we did when we were meeting together. That was almost a year ago. What? It's hard to imagine we've been in this for almost a year. We're going to talk about getting together and doing a Fortnite tournament. We're gonna have other stuff in the future. I'm just super excited about what is planned for our future and things that we're dreaming about. We're talking about getting some of you plugged in to create and plan some of these events that we're going to do. So be watching. Jump on Instagram. Follow us there. Make sure you got the subscribe. Click that like button on YouTube if you're on there. And we will catch you guys next Wednesday. I see some of you are sharing that you've got small group tonight. Super excited for you guys. I think that's the Banning guys. You and girls, I believe you have small groups right after this. So enjoy small groups. If you're not part of small groups, jump on to sunrisechurch.org. Click on the students link. And in students, you can sign up for a small group, and we'll talk more about that next week as well. All right, God bless you. Love you guys. Have a great night. See ya.